This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Okay. I'm calling the meeting of March 10th, 2022 of the Open Space Committee to order, and it's 6:02 p.m. And present, we have 4 people: Janet Brown, Joy Piper, Diana Fetterman, and Cindy Palmer. And 3 people tell me they are unable to make it tonight. So we're just barely a quorum, which is great. And so we can launch right in with the usual agenda. And once again, Janet, I just want a confirmation that you can hear us, because I know you're taking minutes. Can you unmute for a moment and just confirm that you are hearing us? To make sure you're present. Because you're muted. Maybe I can unmute you. I cannot unmute you. I can only ask you to unmute. I don't know what's going on. I can't seem to either get response or unmute her on my own. Okay. Are you there, Janet? Let me see if I can do it this way. Ask to unmute.
Maybe she just stepped away for a minute.
I know, I'm just concerned a little bit about that she somehow had a reason to step away, that she's not present yet. Let's see here if I can call her. Yep, she's calling me.
Oh,
Hi, Janet, what's going on? Really? Yeah, do it now. Okay, let me see if I can do something else here to change that. She's telling me that she's trying to unmute and I won't allow it. Joy, just for practice purposes, will you unmute yourself? See if that works. Yep, it worked. Yeah. Okay, all right, well then let's proceed. And if you need to talk to me for some reason.
Can you dial in?
I'm going to just keep my phone on, okay? So she's right there. So Janet, I'm going to put you on speakerphone. And if you need to talk, just get my attention and we'll let you speak, okay?
Okay, thank you.
She can hear us. This is good. Okay, so let's begin. Public comments. I see no members of the public present, so no comments. Review of minutes. Did everybody had a chance to review the minutes of the previous meeting? And I can... let's see here. I can share the screen and call them up unless does everybody present have a chance to read those minutes? Because I won't call them up if you've read them.
Yes.
But Diana, had you had a chance to read them?
yes, I did. They're
Okay.
fine. Yes.
Right. So in that case, I'm calling for a motion to accept the minutes as written.
So moved.
Second.
Diana wasn't there.
Second.
Okay, so it doesn't really matter that she wasn't there. She can still second them. She read them.
Who? Me?
So is there any discussion? All right, hearing none, let's vote to accept. You're welcome to decline, say you don't want to vote for them right now, Diana, if you weren't present. So let's do it by name vote. Do you accept them, Janet?
Yes.
Do you accept them, Joy?
Yes.
I accept them. Diana, do you accept them or?
Well, if I abstain, then you don't have a quorum, right?
Well, we have a quorum.
Right.
You can abstain. That's a vote. You abstain.
Okay, then I guess I
Okay, so that's 3,
can abstain.
4, and 1 abstain. Okay. Moving on, committee reports. Diana, do you want to report anything from the Conservation Commission?
Nope,
No
Nope.
report at this time?
not really.
Okay, no report from
I mean,
Conservation.
continued agony over Manhattan Meadows and
Just that Manham Meadows is an ongoing project. Joy, do you want to report something from Select Board?
Let me. I thought I had some things. Hold on a second. I'm pulling it up now. Okay. Just a reminders that all. I don't think we have anything, but for all warrant articles due April 6th, do we have anything for open space?
No.
No, I didn't think so. Annual town meeting is May 6th. Yeah, Manhattan Meadows is kind of an issue, but because of the purchase and sale with the railroad. But they're working it out. And ARPA funding application will be live and open soon. I don't have a date yet, but we're working on that. So keep an eye out or ear.
So by that, do you mean if a board or a committee or some entity wanted to put an application for some portion of those funds, there'll be like a process for that?
Yes, we're drafting up an application for boards, committees, organizations to fill out and submit to select board for review. And I think there's going to be between, I think 30 days. It's going to be an open application.
For 30 days, and will there be criteria that we'll have to, I mean, is there, I suspect there is.
It has to fall under what ARPA would fund, under the ARPA.
Will that be part of the application so we can see it?
I believe so. I don't recall because I don't have the application in front of me. But if you do have a project in mind, you can ask me and I will get the application to you. I don't know if it's on the actual application because there are so many. But I can get back to you on that. I'm sorry, I don't have that information right in front of me.
Okay, well, hold that thought because there is something a little bit later on that I'll want to know if this.
Okay, I can look it up.
well, basically it has to do with anything that's COVID related, any costs
Not necessarily.
that were incurred or increased.
It's broader than CARES Act.
Yeah,
It's broader than the CARES Act, that's right. Yeah.
but somehow there has to be a connection. Yeah.
Okay, well, just let's hold the thought. I don't know if this is going to apply, but I'm looking for anything to help out in a certain circumstance, okay? Anything else, Joy?
No, that's all.
Okay, thank you. Janet, I'll have to have you speak to me on my phone. Do you want to say what's going on with CPC?
I just want to say we just discussed Courtney Project, and Bob Kosa had an excellent motion that he sent to me today, which I will incorporate in our minutes. The other thing is the Pollinator Garden, which I will defer to you
Okay,
to discuss how that turned out.
okay, very good. Thank you. I'm going to put that under old business, the second thing. So the Courtney Project is something that we supported, but the warrant is going to reflect that this is a project under the Water Commission. And I'm sure all of us know what we're talking about, the acquisition of the 76 acres on Pomeroy Meadow Road. Remember, the actual owner came to our meeting. Her name is Mary Beth Courtney, and this is really being facilitated by Kestrel Land Trust. And I happen to be copied on a few letters. And today I saw that the person working from the Kestrel end, whose name is Bridget Likely, Lively. She worked with Ed to get the select board's letter of support of the projects, because I guess it was voted at the select board to approve this project and support it. So that's really good. So it sounds like it's all coming together. The grant is due, I think, about 1 week from today. So it sounds like all the elements have come together for that. And CPC did vote for supporting the project and supporting the financial aspect of it, with the idea of that any grants that are awarded will go back to CPC funds. But if for some reason, and we don't expect this will happen, if some reason CPC is going to put on the warrant that, CPC funds would cover the entire project. Okay. And then planning board, related to open space, I do not have any specific report. We're ongoing, continuing to do zoning bylaw reviews. Okay. So let's move to old business. Under old business, I do want to bring up this Courtney Project one time. The reason is, as I looked in the minutes from that we just reviewed and we approved, that was exactly what happened. But if you look under Courtney, under old business, it says that the motion was to approve up to, wait a minute here. The motion for Open Space Committee was to approve the acquisition of this conservation of the acquisition and conservation restriction of the property on map 8 parcel 1 up to $400,000 for 83 acres. And we have to modify, we have to ask for a new motion, because number one, in subsequent reviews of the application, it's only 76 acres. That's one part. And secondly, we need to make a motion to approve up to $405,000, not 400. Let's see here. Do I have that right number? Bear with me a moment. Because as subsequent to our last meeting, new costs were identified after Bridget spoke to Ed Gibson and found out that, certain filing costs, certainly legal costs, et cetera, forced her to modify what was going to be needed for, for the approval for the project. Thus, the numbers came in higher, and she also came up with a slightly lower number of acres. Consequently, I'm going to open up my, let's see here, open up my documents. I'm sorry, I don't have that number in front of me at this very moment. Bear with me. Okay. Documents, this PC. So that I can call up the application again. Okay, here we go. It's higher, I'm sorry. It's 443,700. So I'd like to have a motion that Open Space Committee, it's given that we had put numbers in our previous motion, that Open Space Committee approves up to 445,000 for the acquisition and the conservation restriction of the 76 acres for of this property. Could somebody make that motion?
So moved.
Okay, thank you. That was Joy. Do I hear a second?
Second, I'll second.
Thank you. There's a second by Diana. Any further discussion or questions? No? Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. And so it's essentially the same motion, but it's a different number of acres, 76, and it's a different amount of money, up to $445,000. Okay? Roll call vote. Palmer, yes. Fetterman?
Aye.
Joy?
Aye.
Janet? Okay, it was unanimous. Thank you very much. So you can just take that same motion from the previous minutes, Janet, and just plug in different numbers. Is that okay?
What minutes that was for those?
Yeah, the most recent ones, the most recent ones.
Okay.
It's in Courtney. Okay, thank you. Great.
But the torch was lost, right? Yeah.
Okay,
What's the
so
cat?
moving on. We are, I want to give some updates. Old business. So as you know, we talked last time about doing some kind of celebration for the Hendrick property donation, which is Ted and Paula Hendrick, his daughter, Ted and Paula. So a subcommittee of this group, which includes Janet Brown and Charlie McDonald and myself, have met and we are working on this. We found out that we needed more information on specifics from Paula. She's the one who can coordinate directly with her father, including, what's a good date for them? What's a good time of day? How long do they want it to last? Do they want to limit the number of people? We want to make sure it works well for them. We don't have a specific proposal to come to this committee yet for approval because I just before this meeting, I got an email back from Paula with some information. So we'll have to defer this to the next meeting for further discussion, okay?
This is the garden on the Water Commission property?
No, this is.
Oh, what is this? I'm sorry.
This is the property that it's approximately 8 acres. And it's the Hendrick property that's on the corner of Rattle Hill Road and Cold Spring Road. It's a donation to.
Oh, okay, yes, okay, I'm sorry. Thank you for refreshing my memory.
Yeah. I do note that I didn't note before, and I'm sorry about this, in the previous minutes, and I'm sure this is what was said, but I was incorrect. In the previous minutes, it said there would be a conservation restriction held by Southampton Conservation Commission. That is not correct. There is no conservation restriction on this. There's no CR. It is just going to be land held by the Southampton Conservation Commission. This was clarified for me by Marla. So you can put that as a clarification in these minutes, Janet, okay? There is no conservation restriction per se. It's just a property that's owned.
It was donated to the town.
It was donated to the town, correct. Repeat that question again. I didn't hear you.
Did they donate the land in 2021 or 2022?
Jeepers Crow, I think it was before that. She asked, when did they donate the land? I think it's been 2 or 3 years. Hasn't it been? Diana, do you remember?
Well, I made the proposal, but it's taken this long I think it's only just recently been finalized.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of legal stuff and they were waiting on the tax credit and all that. So
it's
took a
only been
couple of years.
So I think we could say the finalization of the donation is in 2022. That just came through.
I think so, yes, that's correct.
Okay, great. Thanks, Janet. The next one is the project that we're talking about, the Pollinator Garden, which is the one we've talked about several different meetings. And the intent was to have CPC funds used for that. And we couldn't put in an application until Charlie got the the quotes that he was trying to get for the various landscape people to do the project. This does not meet the criteria of allowed projects under CPC. Our chairperson, Virginia Ahart, spent quite a long time reviewing the state website and the criteria, and the project is not allowable. I mean, we can acquire land under CPC, but it's not like we can build a garden. That's essentially how she's explained it to us. So Charlie's aware of this, and Virginia spent tremendous amount of time trying to make sure that she's gotten this correct. So that was discussed at CPC last night, and the committee understood this. So it really is, we have to find a new source of funding for that project. And we're thinking, maybe $6,000 approximately. So Joy, back to the ARPA funds. Do you think this falls into ARPA? I don't know if it does, but I'm just going to bring it up.
It may. So I'm looking specifically at the spending on government services. So each municipality has up to 10 million in funds, or we don't have 10 million, but they can spend up to 10 million in funds in government services. And that has a very broad definition because the federal government has said the averages each municipality has lost probably up to 10 million, if less, and we aren't going to really, be stringent on how, consider that just lost revenue for the municipality and not be stringent on how the government uses it. So these are, the different services, any services that traditionally would be provided by a government. Construction of schools and hospitals, road building and maintenance and other infrastructure, health services, general government administration, staff, administrative facilities, environmental remediation, provision of police, fire, other public safety services. This is just some examples. It is not exhaustive. So,
having said that, you haven't said yes and you haven't said no. You said maybe.
I am saying maybe.
That's good. That's good.
The worst is that open space puts forth an application and it's denied, but
That's
the best is that it can be accepted.
Okay. So having said that, if you are able to forward the application to me.
Sure. It's not finalized yet,
Okay.
But as soon as it is, yes, absolutely. Because then it's only that 30-day window that open space we would have.
Wonderful. And can you tell me,
and I can also
does any of this have to be voted at town meeting, or is this the select board will make final decisions on?
I believe select board's making final decisions on. I am not sure though. I can clarify. I will write that down as a clarification that I need to make at the next meeting. So does select board have final decision?
I did receive via all the mailings that I get from Concom examples of towns that had used ARPA funds. It was really more for parking and things like that at conservation areas that had gotten more use during the pandemic because people were outside. So, but they were, town-owned parking areas at conservation areas. So that was the closest I saw to anything like open space.
Okay.
If parking areas are being accepted, I feel like community gardens for me, especially because I feel like that is something that anything that makes food more affordable for the public.
Okay, but understand this is not a community garden. This is a flower garden. Okay.
This is just a garden.
It's a flower garden.
Oh, a flower garden. Okay. So yeah, I don't know. I thought it was a community garden because I know that was one of our goals.
Well, no, but in another topic, I'll mention something about that. But for now, we're just talking specifically about this project. And it has these paver stones around the outside of it. We've seen pictures. And the reason it has the paver stones is because when Charlie and I met with Randall Kemp, he, for good reason, is concerned about something that's going to add work for his crew, maintenance work. He can't foresee the extra time that would be allowed to do something that required weed whacking. So what he wanted was something where the mower could, if the pavers come right down flush with the ground, which that's the intent, then they could just go around and mow it and wouldn't have to get out of the tractor or whatever they're using to mow the area. It would be easy. So let's go with, we're not entirely sure if this will be covered, but we're at least going to try to apply for it.
His environmental, this is the Pollinator Garden. I'm sorry.
That's what we've been calling it, a pollinator
Yeah,
garden.
that I would go with that. I
Yeah.
would put that in the application. I think that addresses environmental climate change and things that are, going on with the environment. The bees need help.
Well, it's the bees, and also we were, talking a little bit about trying to bring in an educational component and try to recognize it's right on a sidewalk. That's, where it is, right on Pomeroy Meadow Road, and hopefully people, I'm going to say seniors, but people who are walking might take a moment, rest, sort of a passive recreation thing. So these are all
Add a mental health aspect to it.
Could be a mental health aspect, yeah. So we're thinking about all these other elements, and I know Charlie's not able to come tonight, but we'll do our best to fill out a form that will hopefully make it desirable and meet the criteria, and not making anything up, but in fact what we think it could do. Okay, great. That's wonderful. Thank you. So let's move on. Still under old business. There was a discussion last time, it fell under new business last time, and that was land owned by Charlie Fisher, which is on Crooked Ledge Road, which is the section of Crooked Ledge between Fulmer and Russellville. And it's at the end of Alder Pond. It's really, really beautiful land, approximately 25 acres. And Charlie owns more property than that, but he's made a determination that he would like to continue to own this property, but he wants to put a conservation restriction on it. And he and Kestrel Land Trust, and I was a part of the conversations, have been talking about this. Last week, a land appraiser, a qualified person, land appraiser named Bob O'Connor from Westfield, who's used by Kestrel, came out and did the appraisal. I do not have the final numbers, but that's all happened. That's just one more step. So it's not like the town will be buying any land. It's just kind of meeting our goals for seeing, a permanent conservation of really lovely property. So that's just the latest on that. I don't have any further information because I don't have any.
But where would the money come? Where would the money come from?
It would have to come, we would have to pay for it. The town would have to pay for the conservation restriction. But it would be held by Kestrel as far as I know. So I don't know what that would be, how much that would be. I only know Mark Walmsley sent me kind
Well,
of.
it's like the property right. So whatever the appraiser probably that same amount.
You think the conservation restriction is the same amount as the value of the property?
Well, a conservation restriction is usually the property rights, like you're giving up the right to develop the property. So maybe they would, come to an agreement, but there's also the possibility that it would be whatever the property is worth to develop.
Okay, well, again, I don't have the numbers. You might be right. So something to wait.
We could hope not, but
yeah, okay. All right.
I mean, a lot of it would have to do with what Charlie wants,
Precisely. And so I'm only giving you what I know.
How much you want.
Yep.
I think if he wasn't charging, I think the cost really comes, like if he's not asking for a bunch of money for those rights and just giving them away, I think the cost just comes into legal fees to make it happen, drafting documents, etc. recording
Yeah,
fee
well,
in the
he
registry.
said that he said he wanted the same arrangement that Barry Searle got, and that's not what happened with Barry Searle. He got some money.
You know, that we really are guessing at this point. We really are guessing. We don't
Right,
know
yes, that's true.
because we don't have the numbers and, you know, we're just sort of surmising what he will get or what he wants or, you know,
Mhm.
oh, I'm telling you exactly what I do know,
Right,
which is what he's done so far. So it's probably better that we not just guess at this point. Let's wait and see. Mark Walmsley
Mhm.
hasn't been able to get back to me with specifics and I don't have them at this point.
Who paid for the appraisal?
Kestrel paid for the appraisal.
Okay.
The bell went off.
Okay, so we're gonna have to put that on a future agenda. So I'm just reporting what I know so far. All right, so the next one under, let's see, I gotta move that to new business. Let's see here. I just would like to report that I spoke to the landowner, the wife of the landowner of property up on Fomer Road. It's 100 and something acres in Southampton, but it goes into Westhampton and it totals like 235 acres and it's owned by a man named Norton Garfinkel and his wife's name is Sally Menard. And I had conversations with her, we had email back and forth last week. They're very nice. They're very interested in this land. They haven't seen it in decades. They're especially Mr. Garfinkel is quite elderly, like in his mid-90s, and he had a stroke a few years ago. But they haven't made a final decision on what they want to do with their land. But I do know that when they do make a decision, she said they probably will have to sell the land. So it's not like would be a donation or nor would it be, you know, we don't have a specific on what their long-term plan is. So I think we should view this as an open discussion. And as you know, because we've talked about this in past meetings, there is a possibility going forward of something like a landscape partnership grant, which has a required $500 acre minimum contiguous property. And then if you get that minimum 500 acres, then other properties can be added to it. So this one's desirable in terms of a few different things. Number one, it's not developed. Number two, it's forested. Number three, it's right next to a lot of conserved property, Huntington State Forest, and then there's conserved property in Westhampton, which borders their property. So it's desirable in those multiple ways. So again, it's just an ongoing conversation. Mark Walmsley's aware I spoke with this woman, but she was pretty clear that their personal needs would include, you know, selling the land if they no longer owned it. So that's all I can report on that right now. Let's see here. Under old business, let's see. I think that's all I had. Oh, yes, one more thing under old business, and that's to look at our goals. We had this from last time, and I'm going to call up that document right now under shared screen. Let's see here. Screen. Share screen. All right. So I assume, Janet, that you can see the screen. Is this correct?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, all right, she can see it. Okay, so the first thing we had down there was to finalize the Monarch friendly pollinator garden installation. We still have that as a goal for 2022. And is there anybody want to comment on that? Because ultimately I want to tonight to review these and approve them and, you know, make a motion so we don't have to keep going back and looking at them. So this is still a draft. So is there any further discussion on that first one? Okay, we'll move on. Next one says hold open space committee sponsored hikes on town conservation property. and then join in the stewardship efforts, work with FOSOS on this goal. Let me add, Joy and Diana, you were at the meeting that we held last, I think October, remember? We had like a little meeting in Conant Park at the pavilion, and we all sort of,
Right.
we kind of, oops, Stephen Johnson's coming in. Whoa, didn't know he's coming. Hi, Stephen. I just let him in. Hi, Stephen. He's connecting. Hi, Stephen, can you hear us? Hi, Stephen, you're muted. Just welcoming you. Okay. If you want to speak, Stephen, you have to unmute. I hope you can. Uh-oh, I hope we don't have the same problem. Oh, he's unmuted. Okay.
Hello,
Hi, Stephen.
I'm sorry I'm late.
Okay, like, nice to see you. Does everybody know who Stephen is? We met him at the last meeting. You were all here, right? Great. And all right, Stephen, so we're just proceeding with, we're still on old business, and we're just going through our goals for 2022. The idea being that we want to approve them tonight, and we have barely a quorum tonight. There's only 4 others present. So, Joy, what I was about to say is that one of the properties that I volunteered to work on was the Clearwater Woodland, and Diana also. And there's going to be a FOSOS, not highly formal, but just a hike this coming Sunday at 11 o'clock on Clearwater Woodland, which I'm going to try to attend. Diana, I don't know if you're available to. You thought you might try to attend that one, right, Diana? The hike at 11 on Sunday, if you can.
Try, yeah.
Okay. And the other thing about this is that Dick O'Brien from Conservation Works spoke to Marla about the fact that he can do a couple things gratis. One of them is to have a Zoom meeting with FOSOS to give them some support on, moving along and further developing the Friends of Southampton open space. And the other thing he told me, I put a phone call into him, was that he would come and just sort of review property and just give recommendations on what could be done or should be done to do improvements on properties. So after this Sunday, and my opportunity to just talk with people at FOSOS, whoever attends, I'm interested in knowing if we can coordinate that opportunity for Dick O'Brien to come and look at that property with us and see what kinds of things we could do. So that's the second goal. Does anybody want to speak anything more about the second goal?
I have a question. Are there emails going out from the friends on these hikes, about these hikes?
The answer is I have not seen an email specifically. I used to be on their email string and I'm not getting it anymore.
Yeah.
So I don't know that. I think we could ask them to send those to people. Are you a member of FOSOS, Joy? Do you know? Have you joined it?
I don't know if I'm a member. I know I put my email and contact information down at that meeting. So they have my someone has my email and my contact info. Yeah,
I'm a member, and I also gave, when I signed up, all that, and I don't get any emails.
Yeah, and I'm a member as well. So I will address that. Good question. That we could be included on similar emails when they're doing things.
Because I can't make it this Sunday, but I would be very interested in doing hikes, walk,
Good. Plus,
trail clearing, whatever it is in the future, for sure.
All right, good point. All right, so you can't make it Sunday, but I will ask them to do that, and I'll share your email address with them. If they should have it, you're right. Next one is continue to support the conservation of the Courtney property, the acquisition, and the answer is we're doing that. Then we're working on this, the plan for the Hendrick gift recognition. So that's coming along. That's still a goal, and I'm sure we're going to achieve that one. Support the acquisition of property to build a parking area at Great Mountain Trail on Upper Wolcott. At this point, maybe Stephen can say something. Have you been able to do anything on that?
I've been doing reconnaissance. And
Doing
it,
reconnaissance? Okay.
it's desperately needed.
What, the reconnaissance?
Yeah. You know, it's really problematic to use Walcott Road past the Lore residence, given their dog.
The Lord's dog.
Yeah. So we need, and there are options both to the south and the north to take people away from their dooryard.
Okay.
But this is very early and it's a bigger scope than I think anybody imagined when they said, please look into this. But I would love to, well, I'm going to pursue it. My dog and I did 5 miles up on Pomeroy Mountain tonight or this afternoon, and it was wonderful. We've got to figure out how to make it more accessible.
You're right. Yeah. Okay. So don't forget this request is really Conservation Commission work. You should probably report that to the Conservation Commission, what you just said about the need for reconnaissance and the considerations that you're encountering.
Sure.
I think Diana, is their next meeting next Monday or the week after that? Do you know?
I don't know, sorry.
Okay, that's on my town government. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be on the website, the town website.
I believe
Okay.
it's on the 21st.
It's on the 21st. Okay, so the
believe
next meeting is the 21st. You should probably, Stephen, consider contacting their chairperson, Marla Hank. And if you need that contact information, let me know. Although you can go on the town website, there is a town email address that goes directly to the chairperson. I think it's concom@townofsouthampton.org, but don't hold me to that. And she would appreciate knowing in advance if there's going to be something that should be on the agenda.
And if you can't make the 21st, Conservation Commission meets every first and third Monday of the month.
Okay, he's muted again, so I'm pretty sure you heard that, Stephen. Great. But what we, Open Space Committee, are doing is doing what we can do to support it. And I don't know what else that is. Maybe talk to the lawyers if that's what it comes to, if Steve isn't able to, something like that. Okay, moving on. Another goal we had was to develop written communication vehicles, letters, mini newsletter, et cetera, with landowners and parcels of conservation interest, and continue relationship building, prepared to support conservation. That's a general goal. Any further discussion on that? Okay. And next one we've already talked about tonight, work with FOSOS and assist with trails and bridges at Clearwater Woodland. So that's clearly something we're already working on. It seems like an achievable goal. Can I pull this up? Let me see here. I gotta scroll down a little bit. Next one is develop what is needed to apply for a landscape partnership grant with the help of Kestrel Land Trust. Find one or more large financial donors. Ooh, that's a big challenge. I did go to a Zoom educational meeting on applying for the landscape partnership grant. I just went as a interested person because we're not there yet. They welcomed me. It's a very complicated grant, very complicated. There's a lot of things, you have to do a lot of things in advance that, you have to be really ready to have the grant awarded and, have people really lined up for it and have certain things addressed ahead of time. And so Kestrel's going to definitely have to help us on that. Next one. Well,
before you go on, if I might, Mark Walmsley and I spoke about this. I mean, Mark raised it to me that he's with Kestrel, if anyone didn't know.
Oh, we do definitely know. I've been talking to him regularly, Stephen, yeah.
Well, I know it's a small group tonight, but I didn't know if everyone. He's quite bullish on this idea of a landscape partnership grant. And I think that it would be wonderful to put together a schedule that would help us build the awareness, the confidence that we're in a position to compete for that. A year out or 2 years out, whatever it might be, I think that it would be great to look at what are the technical requirements. I'll bet Southampton has met most of them. And then what are the project details? And I think Mark's got a deep project file. And I've been impressed with what I've heard from my neighbors, Cindy et al. I think there's a real prospect for that.
Good.
And I'd love to help.
Okay, well, Stephen, this is a point where I'm going to ask you a question. I sent it to you in an email. I don't know if you saw that, but going back up to the goal that was a couple of prior to this, develop a communication vehicle with landowners and relationship building. So one of the things that we need to do is bring some landowners together. You know, we know that that's effective. We can't get them all there, but we can get some, and we can do it. And I'm thought to myself that you would be a good person to help facilitate that kind of conversation. I mean, with your background and experience. So I'm putting you on the spot. Is that something we could count on you to help? I mean, the details are not final in any way, shape, or form. We don't have a date. We don't have a place. We don't have, you know, the invitation list or any of that. But I'm wondering if you could be thinking about help with the facilitation.
Sure.
Oh, good.
I'd be glad to help with the conversation.
Okay, super. All right, so we're getting good vibes from Stephen via and Mark, and I talked to him as well. He's definitely bullish on this for a potential landscape partnership grant in the future. And then the next one was design the open space committee presence on the town website. There it is, right there, Diana. So we need to activate that. That's definitely our goal, because she discovered it's in terrible shape. Our presence is not there.
It's listed on the select board page, though. The open space committee is listed on the select board page.
It's listed on the select board page, the open space.
In my town government.
Oh, in my town government. That's different than the town website.
Right.
Okay, so we're dealing with a little technical issue tonight. Janet can't seem to unmute herself, so she's on a telephone right here. That's that's not the same as the town website. We do need presence on the town website, but thank you for noting that. We were originally ad hoc to the select board. We're no longer ad hoc to the select board. Okay.
Still on their website now.
Well, we'll have to fix that too. Let me write that down. Okay, I think that's a Lucy thing. She handles the my town government part. Then we got this one, develop a garden, possibly community allotment plots at the former Grange site across from the church and town hall. So again, if we need to get funds for anything like that, although I went to the Public Safety Building Committee meeting on Monday of this week. I'm actually on that committee. And the Public Safety Building Committee has got a monstrous task ahead. I don't know if this Grange site is going to be in some way needed to be accessed for anything related to public safety building development, not complex, but building. Could be two different buildings, we don't know yet. So all I'm going to say is that that's on the radar. with a complete unknown as to how that would be possibly used for the public safety building needs in our town. The second thing to tell you is a small group of us, unrelated to any committee, just people interested in gardens, have started to meet to form a Southampton gardeners group. We don't even have an official name right now. We've only met once to really kind of talk things out. And we're moving forward on this. It'll be, anybody that's interested can join it eventually, but I just want you to know that if in fact it turned out that this Grange site was available, this gardeners group may be helpful in helping to develop the allotment, et cetera. So again, I think this is an achievable goal. And it's not just for civic gardens like this, or maybe in front of the post office, or what used to be in front of the very old schoolhouse on Route 10, where the split rail fence is, but just also encouraging backyard gardens that are climate change, pollinator friendly gardens. So it's kind of exciting. Any other questions or comments about that? Okay. Yes, we did, Janet. Thank you. She said, did we skip the one above that? Prepare and apply for a 2023 neighborhood outreach grant. Thank you. To me, that's also another achievable goal. Anybody want to ask or comment on that? We need to have that, think about that like in August of this year, because that's when it starts to become available to us, or it was this year anyway. Is that any other comments on that? No? Okay, moving on. So, and then we'll skip over the one we just did, and then further research, development of walking paths accessible to town center. This one is a challenge to me. It's not impossible. I don't know if it's achievable this year. Anybody want to bring that one up or talk about that as a goal? So we leave it on there for this year? What's that, Joy?
I am just thinking about the Conan Park grant, and I know they're working on the path there, but they're going into the design of it. So I don't know if they're thinking of connecting it to the sidewalk that goes down on Route 10, right?
Yeah.
But I'm just keeping that in the back of my mind.
Okay. So some part of it could be achievable then. You're basically saying it's a little unclear right now how the design's going to come out, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay. Let's leave it on there then. Are we all in agreement? We can at least leave that on there, right? Okay.
Well, I think that's a really minimal goal. And if by some bizarre circumstance, it might not connect to the larger network of pathways in town, then that would be a tragedy. So how do we organize to achieve that?
Now, when you say connect with other trails in town, which one, like Manhan Meadows, you mean, on the other side of the?
That's an aspirational statement. I have no idea what I'm talking about.
Should we reword this?
No, I think whoever is working on the design, the open space committee ought to check in. Okay, I'll volunteer if you can tell me who it is, to see how they're thinking about beyond the parcel connections. They may be only hypothetical future connections, but I'd like to know. I mean, there are a lot of bright people in the valley who do this for a living, and I'd like to know that they're thinking about the larger connections.
So I will tell you what Joy just said, which was the design part of this is in process. Good. And tonight, Paula couldn't come to this meeting because she is on the Parks Commission, and they're meeting tonight. So,
Are we talking, do we want some clarification just on where that walk will be at Conant Park? Because I know that. I mean,
is
it's
it connecting with the
just
sidewalk?
gonna connect to the sidewalk on Route 10, come into along the pickleball courts and come up to the parking lot in front of the library. That's all we had money for. That's what the grant is for. And we had to do it in order to help make the park accessible. It's really not a connection to other trails or anything like that. It's more just, well, you would be able to walk around the center of town a little bit and include the park that way more, but yeah.
It's a
And we
start.
also have a
It-
sidewalk going in front of, I mean, I don't know if you're aware, but we got a grant to put a sidewalk in from Pomeroy Meadow in front of the cemetery down to where there's the sidewalk already starts on the other side of High Street. So that's gonna begin when the asphalt plant's open in April or so.
Okay, yep,
Oh,
no, that's fine.
Wait a second. Okay. And Janet had a question. Go ahead. Ask me, Janet.
I just say the goal does say research, not to develop it, just to do research.
Yeah, she's pointing out that the goal says research development of walking paths. So that's an achievable goal. It's not like we said we're going to do it. It's just said we're going to research it, right?
I
Does
think
that
that
make
was Charlie McDonald's idea, that he thought, he was thinking of towns in Europe and how they have walking paths in the middle of towns, and we have a lot of, um, empty land there in the middle of town, and maybe a path for that. That's what he was thinking.
Okay.
West of High
That's how that
Street.
came up. Mhm.
Say again, Stephen, I didn't catch that. What?
Well, I think if you're invoking Charlie, what I've heard is west of High Street and getting up on the Little Mountain.
Right. That has to be long-term. There is some town land up there, but there are some private owners up there as well. And, we do know that sidewalks are pretty expensive these days. And, if it's trails, that's a different kind of thing. But can we put that on, keep this on as a goal? Just, for goal purposes, let's leave it there. Is that okay? Because that's what we're talking about right now, is goals.
Yes.
Great.
Mhm.
Next one, support Friends of Southampton Open Space to fundraise and increase their membership. Yep, we're good with that.
How is that? Can you go back to the first one goal about Friends of Open Space?
It just says support Friends of Southampton Open Space to fundraise and increase their membership. We should probably add on there and improve communication.
No, I meant isn't there a goal at the top that we just went over?
Oh, right. It said working with Friends of Open Space to assist with trails and bridges at Clearwater Woodland. That was rather specific.
No, there was one before that where we were talking about
was?
them. Yeah, we were talking about the emails.
Hold on. Oh, yeah,
Join in the stewardship efforts.
right.
Isn't that the same as boost membership?
Those were hikes and stewardship.
Okay.
So we
Okay, so
got,
the stewardship efforts is just taking care of the trails.
in general, then
Okay,
there's a
in general.
specific one about Clearwater Woodland. And then
Versus getting more members.
there's helping, encouraging them to do more fundraising, increasing their funds to do the things they need to do and also to get more members. We need that presence. Not only do
Yeah,
we
I
need
just want to make sure that they're not redundant.
Do you think they are, Joey? Or do you think they're separate enough?
I think maybe you could just combine them into one. I don't know.
I'd like to encourage us to keep them separate, because then if one aspect of it doesn't work, you know what I'm saying, that we can at least say we achieved one goal if we didn't achieve the second goal. I'd like to kind of keep it separate.
Okay.
Is that okay? Yeah. Collaborate with neighboring towns relative to open space issues and concerns, future projects as needed. This one's hard for me. I don't know if I understand this one completely. I think we got our hands full. I don't know. What do you guys think about this one? That's the third from the bottom. Collaborate with neighboring towns and relative to open space issues and concerns, future projects as needed. Go ahead, Stephen. Yeah.
Well, potentially connects to the landscape partnership grant,
Oh,
because
there you go. Yeah.
there's no reason why that would be limited to just Southampton. So I think that's reasonable in a small way.
Okay, so let's leave it there unless anybody has any reason to remove it. We'll leave it there. Okay. Next one, participate and celebrate Southampton. By the way, the dates have been set. It's the second weekend in August. And there's a meeting, you know, sort of a collaboration meeting, I think it's by Zoom, on the 31st of this month. So, well, first of all, do we like that goal? Is everybody okay with that? I think anytime we can bring our presence to the town, I think it's really critical that we do it. So we'll leave it as a goal unless I hear any opposition. No? Okay. And then sponsor one or more environmental justice events. I put that one on there, and that's after I went to a Zoom meeting. And I do think we need to be thinking of environmental justice, access to trails for people that may have difficulties with them. Is everybody okay with that, to leave it as a goal?
What is environmental justice?
It just means fairness for people, just a fairness to utilize the environment. Right now, if you
Environmental justice comes up in every grant that we apply for, whether we're an environment. It's a designation for a community based on income, minority, population. We don't qualify, but because we have very low numbers in any of that, but we always try to link any of the grant stuff to the environmental justice communities around us in Westfield, Easthampton, and Holyoke. So it is, you know, as far as grants go, it's pretty important.
So putting that as a goal, at least to do one or more event, that would be a benefit for future grant writing. Is this correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Like we could have signs in Spanish even and things like that.
Right. Good. So we'll leave it there. Do anybody want to add any goals? We got our hands full as far as I'm concerned. There's a lot here. All right. So having gone over them one by one and not heard any opposition to any that are written so far, can I have a motion to accept these as our 2022 goals?
So moved.
Do I move to accept? Do I hear a second?
Second.
You can't.
Second.
Oh.
Sorry, Stephen, you're not part of the committee. All right, seconded by Diana. But thank you. All right.
Spirit.
In spirit, thank you. Any further discussion? None? Okay, I'm going to ask for a roll call vote for the motion to accept these as our goals. Janet Brown? Yes. Joy?
Aye.
Diana?
Aye.
Cindy? Yes. All right, unanimous. Thank you. Great. So I will post those on my town government, and when we get our website presence, I'll post them on the website too. All right, let's keep going here. Stop share. The next thing on the agenda let's see, I don't know that I have any more old business. Does anybody else have old business? Okay, new business. So there is a lot for sale next to the Lyman Conservation Area on Route 10. And if you've driven south towards Westfield and you see a for sale sign quite close to the road, it's actually in front of a metal fence bridge. I mean, like an entry fence to a little road. And that lot is for sale. And I think it's only like 1 point something acres. As far as I know, it hasn't been sold or it doesn't have a purchase and sale on it. It's a lot. And I don't even know the amount, but it's like $100 and something thousand. I don't have the specifics on that right now. But I'm bringing it to this committee to see if you think we should research this a little more. I talked to Marla about it. In some ways, it meets criteria for acquisition because it's right next to another conservation property. As we well know, in our town, we are tremendously deficient on affordable housing. And remember, Jim Sini came a couple of meetings ago, or a couple of meetings ago, chairperson of the Housing Commission, and said, is there a way we can partner on these things? Last night at CPC, another member of the Housing Commission asked, just in general, this wasn't a vote or anything, what the Housing Commission is looking to do is develop a housing trust. It's not clear whether that's going to meet criteria to utilize the funds that are earmarked for affordable housing through CPC, but Virginia's going to be researching that. But if there's a housing trust, it makes it a whole lot easier for the commission to utilize funds without having to go to town meeting. In other words, they've got money and maybe they can take some of that money from the CPC pot. There might also be an opportunity to make donations, et cetera. I bring this up because there are projects going on in other communities and affordable housing is being done on these projects. Sometimes they're modular homes, sometimes they're buying older homes, renovating them and turning them into affordable homes by the definition of affordable housing, not just general concept of affordable. So I just wonder what people think here. If we were to talk with the housing group and say, is this something that would be attractive to you for acquiring this land, partially to be maybe a parking lot for the Lyman Conservation Area, or somehow preserving some aspect of it because it is right next to the conservation area, possibly to use partially for affordable housing. So it's kind of a pie in the sky idea. I just didn't want to let it go without discussion. Does anybody have any thoughts?
I'm supportive of that. I'm just concerned of the time constraints. It sounds like it's for sale now, and I don't know. One, that we don't have a housing trust set up. Right. So it would have to go through the whole CPC process if we were to even put an offer and get into it with it. But I think that's a really good idea, and I think that's why Jim came to the meeting last time, because I think the housing authority is very open to collaboration such as that.
Okay. So basically what I'm suggesting is that we research this. That's all for at this point. Stephen, did you want to offer something on that?
I just wondered whether you thought it was for sure useful to the conservation land or only hypothetically because it's adjacent.
You know what, you're breaking up slightly. I want to make sure I understood your statement. Can you repeat that?
Yeah. Do you think it is for sure beneficial as access to the conservation land, or is it only hypothetical at this stage?
It is next to it. It's contiguous to it.
Right.
And while it didn't go for any kind of discussion to Conservation Commission, I did speak with Marla, the chairperson, today, and she, you know, off the top of her head and her role and knowledge, felt like, wow, that wouldn't be bad if they could somehow at least have a portion of it for a parking space and for the access to the Lyman area. In fact, Diana and I walked on the Lyman area last fall? We did remember you and I and Marty walked on it, Diana?
Yeah.
I think we actually walked on this private land. If I look at where the for sale sign is, when we parked our car and walked in, I think we were actually on that private land for a portion of the time.
Yeah, my understanding is it doesn't have very good access to the
The
public.
Lyman area.
What
the
doesn't?
area.
The lot doesn't, or the?
Conservation area, the Lyman conservation area. I
Oh,
don't.
right, that's true.
There's access, like very public access to the area, to the conservation lands. There's definitely not a parking lot, to my understanding.
Right. That's my
Yeah,
understanding.
that would be awesome. I just don't know how we would proceed.
Exactly. I mean, we'd have to, for now anyway, it would have to be CPC money. The fact that if there's a chance that there could be some affordable housing on it, that means it wouldn't all have to come out of open space and recreation CPC money or undesignated CPC money. It could come partially out of housing. There's a lot of possibilities here. All I'm asking is, should we look further, or do we want to say, no, we don't want anything to do with helping on this? To me, there's just so many good possibilities for at least researching it. And Joy, you're absolutely right. The whole land could be sold, because it you know, working on these processes are so time consuming. And you know, it just doesn't happen like you might if you were a private buyer, right? So anyway, I'm gonna at least pursue that. I'm not really even looking for a motion on this. I'm just bringing it out for discussion. I don't hear anybody negative. I don't hear anybody saying, no, don't bother. So I will at least look into this, talk to Jim Sini, and at least find out the status of whether or not it's even being looked at by a, you know, potential buyer other than us. Okay. And the other one, I'm just going to bring this up because
I wondered what happened to the parcel on East Street. It was withdrawn, and
it was withdrawn, and I don't know. Does anybody know? Did anybody know why it was withdrawn? Joy, have you had any contact with anybody on that?
No, what exactly? I didn't even hear that it was withdrawn.
Yes.
I think I saw that somewhere. I can't
Yes, it's definitely withdrawn.
remember where, but
The offer?
Yes, it's, you know how we discussed the East Street property that's owned by the Canton family?
So the private buyer rescinded their offer?
Yes, and wasn't that Ryan Gielaher?
Yes, and
I believe it's rescinded and it's back in chapter.
I just mentioned it because we did talk about affordable housing there, and maybe it's still a possibility.
Exactly. So that's known. Actually, that was brought up at CPC last night as well, because Sierra Simmons, who's on the Housing Commission, was the one that came to CPC to talk about this housing trust idea.
I think Housing Authority wasn't supportive of it. They discussed it at length.
That is correct. They
but
did.
only because the location wasn't
Yeah.
as close to town, and there's no
Okay.
sidewalk.
I don't know if they're going to talk about it again, like, you know, a new look or something. I don't know the answer. All I'm telling you is it's publicly known that that offer has been withdrawn and it's back in chapter. So back to you, one more thing, and that's, I'm only going to bring this up because I said I would. You know what? I'm not going to bring it up, and I'm going to tell you why. The chairperson of the Council on, I mean, not the chairperson, the director of the Council on Aging, Joan Lenehan, is aware of an elderly person in our town who lives alone on a 15-acre lot. And she's in hospice. And so she's, you know, either already passed away or going to be passing away. And it came to Joan's attention, and she wondered what could be done with this lot. I don't have any more details on this. I told her that if the family was, I'm not even sure if this lot is something that we would be wanting to look at. And I'm not even going to tell you where the lot is, because I think there's more research involved. And I'm hesitant to even say any more about this, because I just think that it's a very sensitive issue right now. And I will keep my ear to the ground about the lot and determine if we can bring this up at a future meeting. So kind of a general non-report right there. But I think we need to be very, very sensitive about situations and make sure we're doing the right thing by a landowner. It may not be anything that we would want to talk about at this point. Okay, that's under new business. I don't have any other new business right now. Does anyone else have anything else to bring up?
No.
Okay. There is one thing, and that's that I'm away April 1st through the 26th. I will not be able to Zoom in, or I'm going to be getting emails, I guess, but I will be out of the country. So we could hold a meeting, and Charlie is our co-chair. He's not here tonight, not co-chair, vice chair. Or we could wait and have a meeting at the end of April, or wait until early May. Now, the thing is, the planning for the Hendrick celebration will have to be finalized, and we don't necessarily have to vote on it. I mean, it can just be something that is approved by the family and approved by, you know, just kind of tacitly approved by everybody. Or there could be a motion that says tonight that says, unless you want to have another meeting to specifically to vote on that, I want some discussion on how would you like to handle this? Anybody? Shall we just go ahead and say that the subcommittee, working with the family, working with Conservation Commission and Friends of Southampton Open Space, can just proceed on that? And it will probably take place the first week in May, or maybe later in May, according to Paula, the daughter. She's given me dates that would possibly work. Or should we plan a meeting for the last week in April? We could do that, because I will be back, and we could meet April 28th. Do you want to meet April 28th for our next meeting, and then we could have all that together by then? Hello?
Okay, that's fine. Whatever works best for you guys. I'm available.
Yeah. Do we think the signs will be ready by then? The signs and the.
We hope so. We hope so. By May.
Wait.
We'll be ready by May when the event happens. We don't know, but we hope so. All right. So let's make the next meeting Thursday, April 28th. Okay.
Okay.
And that will be, and the next thing is, can we do that one live, or do you want to do it on Zoom again?
Whatever anyone else wants to do.
I vote that we try to have a live meeting. What do you think, guys?
But my connection's been terrible all night long, so I don't.
I'm getting sick and tired of Zoom
No.
on some things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and schedule a live meeting. I'll schedule it for town hall, and hopefully that'll all work out. We won't have any resurgence of new variants, and we'll be able to do it. Okay, so mark your calendars, April 28th, 6 o'clock, next meeting. Do I hear a motion to
Okay.
adjourn? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll
Second.
move.
Okay, all in favor. All right, so we're adjourning at 7:21.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.